Hey, what's up, everyone? It's your man, Sean Zittel, and as you can tell by the big opulent statue behind me, I am still here at the Fontainebleau just a short while after the Muratalla Cruz weigh-in wrapped up, and I had to give some last-minute thoughts ahead of this very good fight, this very good IBF Lightweight Championship fight, and I even got my notes in front of me because I did not trust myself on a walk and talk to retain all the points I wanted to make, so let's get into them. Bozy Ennis. This is a big fight for Bozy Ennis, okay? He's going up against one of the most decorated and established trainers. He's going up against one of those Emmanuel Stewart, Robert Garcia, Emmanuel Stewart, Freddie Roach type of trainers, Eddie Futch, one of those guys who's had multiple world champions, has a fighter who's as good as anybody basically right now, and Bam Rodriguez in his prime that he helped build from scratch, and just the deepest stable in boxing right now. So for Bozy, who outside of his son Duran Ennis, who is super talented, a special talent, but not a super decorated fighter, outside of him has had some mixed results. He brings in Stephen Fulton, who hasn't been as sharp under him as he was at his very best at 122. They go life and death with Carlos Castro, very close fight. He gets through it despite the knockdown. Then he pulls off the upset, their finest hour together. He upsets Brandon Figueroa to become WBC featherweight champion, but then gets kind of blown out in a rout against Oshaki Foster at 130 after Stephen Fulton blew weight. So Andy Cruz is his most prized pupil outside of his son, and he didn't build him from scratch as an amateur, but he's built him from scratch as a professional, and he's made Andy Cruz have much more of a pro style. He has those twitchy steps, but he stays in the pocket. And you do wonder if that Philly style a la Meldrick Taylor against Julio Cesar Chavez, if he'll have him in the pocket too much. And he has to prove in this fight he could coach on Robert Garcia's level, because there's not a big talent gap between these two. Yes, Andy Cruz is the favorite. All the more reason why Bozy Ennis has to prove he can coach on Robert's level. But there isn't this huge gap in athleticism like that. Yeah, Cruz is a little twitchier, a little bit faster reflexes, a little quicker on the draw, but Murataya doesn't just have power, he has speed. He has hand speed, power, and intelligence, and one of the best, if not, the best trainer in boxing, arguably, okay? So this is a big moment for Bozy, again, who's not as accomplished as Robert Garcia as a fighter either. Bozy was a 4-2 pro out of Philly, and Robert Garcia was a world champion. Robert has a whole boxing academy. So this is his Philly dungeon up against the boxing academy of Robert Garcia, and this is really potentially a gourmet appetizer for when they square off if Duran Ennis and Virgil Ortiz ever fight. Now, on to the next point, which is Andy Cruz's mettle will be tested in this fight. And I asked Andy about this after the weigh-in, and there's a history here at the championship level. Yeah, Andy's gotten through some Mexican fighters, but at this level, Benavidez Morel or Marquez Casamayor or Robezi Ramirez against Rafael Espinoza, where over 12 rounds, that Mexican, even Jose Luis Castillo beating Casamayor, it was close though, but there's this history of over 12 rounds, the durability of these talented Cuban amateurs, many of them gold medalists like Andy Cruz, not holding up against the durability and the style of a Mexican fighter. And yeah, Raymond Murataya is in your typical come forward Mexican style from Mexico. He's Mexican American. He's more of a patient fighter, more of a boxer puncher type fighter. But again, the question remains, Cruz has got talent. He's got all the amateur pedigree in the world. But Raymond Murataya is saying, take him to deep waters and drown him. And when I've been predicting this fight, I don't have a pick. I still don't have a pick. I just want to see it play out. I'm going to do that a lot more this year. But I see it, if it goes 12, in all likelihood, Andy Cruz wins. He wins more rounds than Raymond Murataya. But if someone's getting stopped, then I think it's Andy Cruz getting stopped by Raymond Murataya, who told me his timing is perfect. And I do think he can punch with Cruz and hurt him. And I think it's inevitable, given his IQ, his speed, his power, and his pro experience. He's going to crack Andy Cruz at some point. If Cruz can hold up under that midway, second half of the fight, like Robert and Raymond are predicting they will knock him out at that point in the fight, then I think he'll win the fight. But his mettle will be tested in this fight. And again, there is some history there when it comes to Mexican-American fighters and Cuban fighters with stellar amateur backgrounds. Now, for Raymond Murataya, one thing I have to point out, after getting here on fight week at the presser yesterday and at the weigh-in today, Okay, full disclosure, I happen to grow up with some guys from the IE, the Inland Empire, aka the Insane Empire. Okay, some of those guys are part of why I got into boxing, making me watch De La Hoya and Vargas fights. Shout out to my man Alex Garcia, who was from Rialto, and Rialto's right next to Fontana, if I'm not putting on my accent, and they mean business. Now, Andy Ruiz is not from the IE, but he's still from that Southern California area that's outside of Los Angeles County, Los Angeles area. They grow up tough. There's a lot of gangs out there, and they're none to play with. And like Andy Ruiz, this Mexican-American fighter has speed and power. And he's just, all I can say is he's coming in with that Insane Empire energy, man, like he's nothing to play with. And I do wonder if Cruz, who's smiling and feeling good. And by the way, back to the deep water thing, Cruz says, watch your words. It may come back to haunt you, essentially. Maybe I'll stop you in the second round, right? And Cruz does have respectable power. But back to Murataya, you know, one thought I had. I remember, you know, me and Dana were doing our thing in September, and all kinds of things happened at the press conference with Canelo and Crawford. Canelo was enjoying himself. He was smiling. He was laughing. Fight, fight, fight. Terrence Crawford's expression never broke, never changed. He looked like a killer. He was focused to a T. And Raymond Murataya shares that same kind of demeanor heading into this fight. And you can see it in my interview with me. I mean, he never likes doing interviews, but it doesn't help that his pops doesn't like me. If his pops is watching this, I don't know what the problem is, man. The worst thing I said about Raymond was that he's too patient at times. And yeah, sometimes he's too patient. But I think that sense of urgency will be dialed up for this fight, because Raymond, who doesn't feed into media narratives or anything like that, the stuff we talk about or fans talk about, but I can't help but think he has a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, given that he's the underdog with 23 pro fights and Cruz is the favorite with 6 fights. So I think he's on edge in a good way. I like the temperament he's bringing into the fight. And again, just, you know, just as an aside to the pops, I think the worst thing I could have said about Raymond is he's too patient, and whatever he ate for breakfast the night of the Nakatia fight, whatever routine he went through for that Nakatia fight where he knocked Nakatia out in 2 rounds, who had just went 12 with Shakur, do that again. Have that sense of urgency, because that was fire. So yeah, that's my take on that. And yeah, again, like I said it earlier, but you know, he's instilled that Philly in him. You don't want to have too much Philly in you. Like Meldrick Taylor against Julio Cesar Chavez, a Mexican fighter, where you're getting off first, you're out speeding him, you're out landing him, but you stay in that pocket too long. That's something we're gonna have to watch in this fight. And again, I really look forward to it. And then last thing, Cruz, I definitely expect to get off to a good start. And you even hear Ray talking about the second half, and Robert talking about 9-10 round knockout. So they think they'll get their best work done. I believe that's what they're saying, in the second half, because they have more professional rounds experience. And stellar amateurs think James DeGale against Badu Jack. He dropped Badu Jack in the first round, got off to a hot start, and then Badu dropped him late in the fight. And came, I think even the 12th maybe, you got to correct me if I'm wrong. He came on strong over those 12 professional rounds. And back to Bozy and Robert, they had a very respectful exchange. It was beautiful to see yesterday. But Robert told Bozy, just remember, 12 rounds, not 3, not 4. So I think Cruz may have to not just win those early rounds, but really get Murataya's respect and get him to think twice. Because if he just wins the early rounds but doesn't hit him with something to get his respect, make him think twice, make him respect that power, then eventually with his timing and his power and speed, he may just take one to land one and say, all right, now you at the punch at the same time as him, let's see if you could take what I got dishing out. And like I said, there's a history of Cuban fighters not being able to hold up over 12 rounds. Is Andy Cruz going to prove something different tomorrow night? I can't wait to see. Thank you guys for checking in with the channel, and yeah, I'll be giving you my instant reaction right after the fight. So Muratalla Cruz, a pick'em fight to me. If it goes the distance, in all likelihood, Cruz. If it's a stoppage, more likely it's Murataya. It's one of those fights for me. Check it out tomorrow night, and check out the coverage I'll have here from Vegas. Peace.